Just get out of the car.
I did
We can
nothing
talk about
wrong.
it then, okay?
There's no investigation to be done.
You want to do this the easy way?
There is no. What are you talking? You wrote her a traffic ticket, correct?
Okay. You have a warrant for your arrest, okay?
There is no investigation to be done if you pulled her over for a traffic ticket.
Okay.
Step all my sign units are out. Radio 4 big one, I know you're from a distance. I'm searching it direct.
Okay.
Can you please stop touching me?
I don't want to keep doing this, but you're not.
Look at him. Look at him like he's a dog or something.
Well, because you're acting.
That's
you're
psychotic.
acting
Okay. You investigated a traffic ticket.
And we found you to be under.
That is highly illegal.
Not highly illegal.
How can you get off me? You said she was going what?
45 and a 30.
All right. So if she going 45 and a 30, they pulled her over for a traffic ticket. How is it lawful for them to get the identification of the passenger, which they did not get, but said they identified me?
Andrew, please. Please, no.
They not trying to let me get out of the car myself, bro. I'm on the phone.
Come on.
Let me get out then. You're breaking my vehicle.
They get out of the car.
Let me get out. I'm not trying to be slammed on the ground.
You're not going to be slammed.
That's obviously what you're trying to do.
not
Look
trying
at
to
you.
do that.
Look at you. Look at you. Babe, get out the car and record it.
Verse. I don't even know how to feel about it. To be honest, you know what I'm saying? I think it's a unique time.
It's perfect. It's perfect, but it's a teaching method. I've been saying if you want to get to the heart of it, you have to start teaching the young people what their rights are. And the young fella on the video, he conveyed them rights to the nth degree.
Right.
He was on them. He was like, look at him. Look, I'm in the passenger seat, and I don't have to ID. What crime do you suspect me of committing? And he didn't commit a crime, literally. And then on top of that, when they say, well, how did they ID him to say, well, we can take you to jail? What rationale did they use? They don't have no rationale for pulling anyone out of the car.
Yeah, it was a pride thing. It was the way cops be feeling, man. That what's that authority little complex? Yeah, that complex.
And you need to consent to do whatever we tell you to do, regardless of whether you have rights, because this is what they've been getting away with for years. For years, they just violate rights because we don't know. If you don't know what your rights are, and I say this all the time, you don't have any. You don't have rights. And before we had what is considered constitutional common law rights, the Constitution comes from inherent God-given rights and human rights. That was first. That's why if you read it, it say God-given, inherent, then constitutional rights.
Right, and then one thing people don't realize is the same rights that apply everywhere. So
That's right.
Not just America, you know what I'm saying? You could apply these same rights, period. Like,
but in communist China, you got no rights at all. In some places, whatever they want, only some places. Some places they can't. You can't go to
R.I.P. Hong Kong.
You cannot go to a Marxist society thinking that your constitutional common law right, there's no such thing there. But the fact is, when they violated that kid, they just gave him a lottery ticket, literally.
Yeah, what a wonderful time to be alive for him. He made it alive. He didn't get shot. TMZ picked up the story. It's actually a match made in heaven. When I'm riding around with friends on some real shit, particularly my dog Flu, he's pretty much up to date on everything, you know what I'm saying? He's just a silly motherfucker, so he always joking on me on it, you know what I'm saying? Trying to be like,
but if you get pulled over, they folks still get scared.
He'll let me talk. He would let me talk, but when the police not around, he cracking jokes like he be hyping me up, like making me want to run into the police, like dawg, you know, when other motherfuckers around, he's like, oh, this nigga Chris be on that shit.
Let's go find some of them bitches.
Yeah, you know, so it's weird. So the whole thing, you know, I look at that shit and I'm like, cause I would be in the passenger or I'd probably be in the back or something, you know what I'm saying? And I could see that happening to myself.
Right,
you know,
right. Yeah,
I'm not showing no fucking ID.
You don't have to
it's
ID
period.
if you didn't commit if you're not the one that actually so-called driver, which is another story. I don't think we can go into that, but that's a different thing. But if you're the passenger, they literally just gave that young man a lottery ticket because they assaulted him, and he got a whole bunch of cases against him.
You know what it is? Let's talk about it. It's the Fourth Amendment. It's the out of every one of those first few amendments that everybody be talking about, people be like, oh, the First Amendment, the speech, Second Amendment, arms, you know what I'm saying, bear arms, Fifth Amendment, plead the Fifth. But the thing is, when you talk about the Fourth Amendment, it's so vague, motherfucker.
You don't have to give them
look, when you ask, I'm talking about ask a motherfucker regular who think they know their rights, like, what's the Fourth Amendment? They be like, something about probable cause, right? But they don't realize that what that means is you don't have to identify yourself if they don't suspect you of a crime.
In your person and your property.
Exactly.
You have a right to be secure, which means, and the simple fact is, you don't have to give them evidence against yourself. That's what that's saying. You don't have to give them evidence.
Yeah.
Now, if they arrest you, if they say you're under arrest, now you have the ID. But the only way they can arrest you is you have to commit a crime.
And that right there, I'm glad you said that, because I was just about to get to the point. The definition of a crime has to have
must be a
victim or loss. So if there's no damage, there's nobody hurt, you gotta imagine
they committing fraud.
They're technically committing fraud, or you're voluntarily extorting yourself. Like you allowing them to extort you.
But under our law, we're in Michigan. Under Michigan law, there's a remedy for them extorting you. First of all, when they violated his rights, you can file a federal offense on the United States Code, which is USC 18241. Since there was more than one, 241 is conspiracy. That's when one or more violate your rights. 242 USC 18 is deprivation of rights under the color of law. And then you can come back from that, and they giving you all the evidence just by their actions. And and they was great. Look, they videoed it all.
And it's some game, right, for that I be telling people, because I would see how your approach was in court, right? I had the privilege of seeing your situation and see you finesse 36th District and 32nd District in Harper Woods. I was able to see you do that before I was able to kind of get in the ring myself, with the Romulus situation and 36th District. But it was interesting to me that in that situation, you know what I'm saying, even me knowing the shit that you would always say, it was until I seen it for myself. Yeah. So one thing is, when we tell people, like, you gotta know your rights, it's like a blank statement, because we can't say that if we don't tell them their rights.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? See, I was privileged enough to, you drilled me with that shit, and then I seen you in action.
Right.
So to all my friends who never seen me in action, but they always hear me drilling this shit, there's a little bit of doubt in their mind that this shit might not be true. Like, maybe Chris don't know what he talking about. You know what I'm saying?
You actually have to use it in that form and see. And we all gonna make mistakes, because we're not attorneys. We're not trained attorneys. We don't have bar cards. So we gonna.
Yeah.
They always gonna use words. Right. Simple words like driving, or are you a person, and like I say, and stuff like that. And
I wish they would ask me that. I've never had a cop ask me if I was a person. If he asked me a person, that's where I'm. He gave me a way out.
If they say to you, "What's your name?" You like, no.
But are you asking me if I'm
my name?
Man, I'm trying to tell you.
What is not my name?
Look, this is another thing too.
You can play games with it.
People don't know the difference between private and commercial. Moving in a corporation, acting as a corporation.
Right.
See, tell all
those statutes are only applicable in public. Your public persona. Your public persona is a corporate entity that was created through the birth certificate and social security number.
Right. And
that's why they always have to get a birth.
Look, for everybody listening, what he pretty much saying is, when you're born and your parents sign that birth certificate, for everybody who had a birth certificate the minute they were born, because I believe it was a generational thing, right? Then they stop it at a certain point. I, for instance, was born with a birth certificate. The minute I came home, I had my birth certificate, or it was on the way getting shipped.
Social security number at the same time.
You see what I'm saying? Exactly. So, thing is, the government, long story short, starts a corporation with your name in essence. Maybe it's a bond. Yeah. So the thing is, and most of your life you're just borrowing against it, I would say.
That's right. They using that bond to charge a credit. Each crime is commercial. So each charge is gonna have.
Did y'all hear what he said? He said each crime is commercial. Can you break that down for them, just for the listeners?
Commercials. Let's say, for instance, they give you a small charge like driving on suspended.
Busted tail light. I just ran the red light. None of of that shit a crime.
None of that is a crime.
No victim, no loss.
That's civil. It really should be civil law, and you can beat it.
And look, the question though that they ask, though, when we tell them that, they be like, well, why does the police fuck with me? Why if I run that red light, whoop, whoop, I get flipped, right? Boom, let's put them in that position.
Right.
So they get flipped. Hold on, let's walk them through it.
Okay.
When you getting flipped, I'm the police officer, you're the person, okay?
Okay.
Whoop, whoop. I walk up to your car. If I don't say, hey, you know, where you headed, try to fuck around with you, I would even appreciate that. But the cops that come off bail, they be like, license and registration, immediate railroad job.
Yeah, right. No,
you're not even telling me.
Your name, a badge number,
period.
And
call
why
the
did
supervisor.
You pull me over?
I'm too scared to ask anything except call the supervisor.
Badge number, and why did you pull me over? And now call your supervisor.
Right.
And you only let your window down
a little bit.
3 inches. So
literally, just so they could hear you. Just so they could hear you. And look,
and you can give them whatever information you need to give them.
The thing that's really trippy with me with it is that the reason why I say, you know, it depends on how the cop approach you. And long story short, it's 2 ways. If the cop goes straight to license and registration, which a lot of them kind of do now, those are all extortionists, right? Because the thing is, at that point in time, you literally don't even really like. It's past who I am. Right. It's past. Listen, this is the one thing that I try to tell people in the legality aspect. If you walk up to me and say license and registration, you're kind of hold on. What they're doing is you're involuntarily letting me know that you don't have a warrant.
Right. And
it's quiet as kept. Think about it.
And most people don't know that if somehow they give you a failure to appear capious warrant, that is not a real warrant.
And go break that down. Tell them about it.
Warrant. A capious is not in order for them to get a warrant, there has to be a victim once again, and the capious is just a civil. That's just to notify you that you owe what they say is a debt to show up. But that is really not a. If they arrest you for a capious and you challenge it, like I say, the first thing you want to do, if you're not doing this, you wrong. Video, audio, anytime, any interaction with public servant. So you want to get them on record who they are, the badge number, name, why they pulled you over, and then you want to deny what they're charging you for.
You have to deny. Do not be complicit. Do not walk consent with them. Yeah. Don't consent into the shit. And that's the point. We gotta talk about verbal agreements and verbal contracts, because the minute you give them is a verbal contract. Let's take it deeper. I believe that honestly. Let's break down the word verbal contract.
It's not just a verbal. You've given them everything.
Yeah, that's deep. Because I believe that the minute you start answering questions, you kind of got into a verbal contract.
Well, you always ask questions. You ask questions. You don't answer anything.
Right, but you peep the minute that if I answer one question, technically
if they ask you a question, you ask them one.
Right, but for the people that answer, the reason what I'm saying is, the minute I act, the reason they say don't answer any questions, because the minute I do, I've kind of already engaged in verbal consent. You see what I'm saying? Exactly. And that's the point why people do not need to answer any questions when the police flick you. You know what I'm saying? That's the part.
So if they ask you a question, you just ask, don't I have a right to remain silent? If you're gonna say anything, you ask that question. You give them a question as an answer. You like, do I not have a right to remain silent?
Right.
Does my 5th Amendment right to remain silent apply in this instance? And they have to say yeah, because it does.
It does. And one into it, like we said, we was walking them through it. The cop will ask you, try everything in their power to be like, oh, so are you a resistant, this and that. They try to be real creative with it. You got to be like, long story short, I'm not trying to tell people to resist. That's not what this is. I don't want to be ignorant. I don't want to be irresponsible with my message. I'm trying to let you know that cops are trained. Public servants are trained to go out there and use tactics that the average 99% of the motherfucker don't know, that they able to finesse you. Like one question can lead to another opening, to another question. So if I say if I pretty much deny giving my or tell them I'm not giving them my ID, long story short, they're going to jump straight to so you're resisting obstruction. See what I'm saying? Exactly. That's why you gotta.
But that's a false charge.
It is.
And if they,
you gotta challenge it.
Even if they say okay, you like, I'm challenging that. I'm not resisting. I'm not obstructing. I actually personally, I got a common law ID, which is not that corporate bullshit. So I'll pull that out at them. I'm like, and if they, and I've had them say this not valid, but the bottom line of that, my common law ID that was authenticated through the Secretary of State of Michigan says should be given full faith and credit in any court of justice and elsewhere. So court of justice elsewhere would apply to the police officer.
It would. And look, let's just break down what a police officer is initially. Then I'm gonna
Policy enforcer for one.
and even let's strip them away from that. They're public servants.
They're public servants.
Straight and forward.
They work for the public.
Or they're supposed to be.
They're supposed to work for the public.
You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So the minute that they started receiving,
The minute they start trying to extort from you, then they violating their oath. They've all should have an oath of office on file wherever they work at. All public officials, even the so-called judges, all of them. And the moment they violate any of that oath that they took to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, now you can come in. That's why they got a badge number. That badge number is attached to a bond that you can sue in federal court under USC 18-241, which is conspiracy against rights, 242 with deprivation of rights. Once you get that going, you can come back in state court. If they give you a ticket under any of that, you can charge them with malicious attempt to extort. 750.213 of Michigan Penal Code, and you can charge them with all of that.
that was 750-213 for everybody listening.
750.213 Michigan Penal Code. That's extortion, malicious attempt to extort.
And that's really important, because the thing is, for the fact that people don't know, it's like you sending unequipped, uninformed people into the jungle.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it's not their fault. I've heard
road pirates everywhere.
Look, I got a friend in Canada that said this to me, and it was like, only in America do you have most of the, like, everybody in there is like voluntarily in jail. And I had to, and it kind of insulted me. It insulted me because I was 15 when I got caught with a gun. Luckily that they can't convict minors. I don't have it on my record now, but at that moment, looking at it, I could have fandangled out of that because, again, like I said,
no, they don't have a victim.
All crime is commercial.
That's right. And then they don't have a victim.
No victim. There was no loss. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is, we got to talk about that possession. Possession. It's a very fine line with possession being a crime, because
who's getting hurt, who's a hurt and harm because I got possession of AY, XYZ, whatever.
So look, let's say that I got trunk full of drugs. I got weapons.
There's no victim.
Right, but look, so the cop flipped me, right? Boom, I run a red light with all that shit in the car. Regardless of what I have, technically, it's a way, it's an order of procedure of how things are supposed to be handled. Regardless, you can't go in my trunk unless I give you consent. You can't look in my car unless I give you consent. Technically, you can't even identify me until I give you consent.
That's right.
Unless, you know what I'm saying? Unless you have a warrant.
All of that's all true. That's all true.
So it really doesn't even matter what I got on me.
Not really, unless you're hurting somebody.
Right.
If you're hurting or harm. If you had to tow up somebody's shit somehow, you slapped somebody and got in your car and took off running, or anything, like, there has to be a victim in order for there to be a crime, period, point blank. And if once we get past that, then everything opens up to everybody where you can see. And most of the time, we got over 2 million people incarcerated in this country, and most of them are for non-violent offenses.
Man,
that's the fact.
Or even a step further, like I was saying, most of them are voluntarily in prison.
Yeah, because they consented to give joinder.
Yes, and without knowing. And shouldn't it be a way that we could get out of that?
But that's a UCC process.
Because if I didn't knowingly know that I gave up my rights, that's technically
any contract you sign.
Period. Because the Migos, exactly, the Migos is currently suing the lawyers that represented them because they finding out that they worked with the label and they were conflict of interest. But the first thing that they cited in the suit is we lacked economic or financial, legal, business knowledge prior to signing to this.
What does that say up under the state ID that I'm forced to get?
Which one am I looking at? The front of the ID
on the airplane, I need either a passport or a state ID.
You said the airplane.
In order to get on the airplane, that's the real ID.
Oh,
and in order to get it, that's the only way they were gonna let me on the plane.
Wow.
Look what it say up underneath it. It says UCC.
Oh yeah, you wrote that shit under your.
Yeah, that's
he
a
wrote
reservation right.
UCC 1-30308 under his ID, which means under his signature, which means that
I'm reserving my rights to not
this
be
is
compelled
pretty
to
much a
perform.
temporary consent.
It's consent, but
It's temporary.
But I'm not giving up certain rights.
Right, it's like I'm licensing this consent to you,
Yeah,
which means
that's
you don't
right.
have full authority to do
that
everything
program role. That's
exactly.
right.
But
I
as far as the
reserve those
basic
rights.
shit,
I'm able to get on the airplane.
Exactly.
It's a reservation of rights. That what it says is I'm not compelled to perform under a contract.
I wonder if I can sign a
with
record deal with that.
Yeah, you can sign any contract with UCC 1-308, and each line of that contract is automatically gonna be under review. This automatically puts everything, because you have to. They cannot give you unless you got full disclosure of what you're signing, and it's agreement between two parties. Now we have a valid contract. Now, so what we have been taught to do over all these years is contract away all of our God-given inherent rights.
Right.
We have been programmed
To
by
contract it away.
everyone to contract all your rights away, and that needs to change.
Real thing that's deep too. I try to tell people all the time, man. You just gotta, you have to be informed. You know what I'm saying? It's not our fault that we not informed. We never really had anybody to kind of show the black community exactly how do they, reserve their rights. How do they uphold their rights when faced with public servants, faced with what they potentially be a authority figure. Even though police went from being slave patrol to public servants to authority figures, now it's just very interesting thing. But when you're dealing with what we have, we're dealing with such a vulnerable state for us, not just as black people, but as citizens in general, that we gotta kind of pretty much figure out how to turn that weakness that they put us in, this weak situation, into a strength. And the way you do that is you gotta recognize the situation itself, understand what they're trying to do, understand how you can make it work to your benefit. Now, I'm not baiting or luring any police at any regard to pull me over. I'm not looking to get into any legal matters at all. Why would I? I'm a black man in America. But if for instance, a police was to flick me by with, like a, what you want to say, running red light or something like that, I would have to fight it at full capacity. If I was to get railroaded or attempted railroaded by the police and they flicked me and tried to drag me out the car and I upheld all my rights, similar to the guy in the video, I think that like you said it earlier, it's a blessing. It's like especially if I survive. If I survive and I'm not hurt like Jacob Blake or anything.
The only problem I got with the video is the young man let him put his hands on him too much. They would only have to do that a couple of times. And once I seen they was getting
he didn't know to ask for a supervisor at all.
Yeah, I would have got out. I'm like, I don't consent, but now y'all done already.
I'm under duress, right?
Yeah,
just
y'all done assaulted me already. And my girl and my baby is in the car. Y'all already done assaulted me, violated my rights, and let's go.
Right.
Y'all say I'm under arrest. Okay, let's go.
It's deep the way you was reciting them numbers, right? You know how you was talking about UCC-308 and all that. See, look, you informed into it, so you know this shit, right? That type of language intimidates the regular person. Not only that, it honestly intimidates cops.
Right.
So if you could, if you could slap a cop with the information like that, they would, aren't you sharp as a tack? You're some type of lawyer or something, somebody important or something. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I ain't past the bar.
The judges, you remember the judges asked me was I a lawyer?
Exactly.
And I'm like,
you know what I'm saying?
Do I have to be? Because when I go to court, I'm like under Article 1, Section 13 of Michigan's Constitution, I appoint myself as counsel and am ready to proceed. Now, at this time, may it please the court, I'd like to motion for dismissal of all charges for the failure of the plaintiff to state a cause of action with which relief can be granted. Boom. Now, when I hit them with that, that's all of their process, all in one. I've given them my status already. Daryl Gerard Young, which is Daryl Gerard of the Young family. That's common law now.
Right.
And so now I've actually taken maritime law, which is the gold fringe flag in the court.
Oh, we gotta talk about that. They don't know what that. Hold on. Before we went over their head a little bit. Let's break it down. Yeah, I know. But let's break it down though, because the maritime law aspect. Now, to everybody who's been to court, I'm sure most of us have, or you've been into a classroom or a situation where you may have looked at an American flag, or take TV for instance. You may have seen an American flag with what they got, these little gold, what they call like, yeah, and that's the official name, but to describe it to somebody who might not know what a fringe is, like these little what is it, like
gold edging?
Yeah, these little gold edging. That's the perfect word. Gold edging around the flag. Now, little do we know, it goes a long way with that. They put those flags in places and where they're attempting to extort you of your rights. Now, I know that seems a little preposterous. It seems like a conspiracy theorist. You might be like, you know what I'm saying? But just to be honest, man, it's a true thing. You know, they are literally, let's take the court for instance. When you walk into a traffic court,
it's not constitutional law.
It's not constitutional law, which means
flag denotes that's what it is.
Which means if you don't say nothing, we won't. That's their policy. If you won't uphold your rights, well, we won't remind you.
Right.
Do you know what you're signing? Do you know what you're signing away your rights? They love to ask you that, but they never ask you, do you actually know your rights and what your rights are? They never ask you that.
Because they know over 90% of the people don't know their right. They know this.
Period.
They also know that over 90% of the people have already, unbeknownst to themselves, signed away all their rights. They know this.
It's sad.
And nobody has, and they know over 90% of the people have not corrected their real status as a human being and not the corporate fiction that they created for us to be. That they can charge.
So think about that, y'all. When y'all be in a classroom, what does it mean when that shit in the classroom? What rights are they taking away from us in the classroom because they have it there? Or what rights? Because kids don't realize that their rights is being extorted. So what rights exactly are we not upholding when we see that shit in school?
They have a code of conduct book for every school
that you must uphold unless you what? Don't want to go to school. And you waive those fucking rights.
In order to be in school.
And that right there, that's the point. That right there, I'm glad you said that because I personally didn't even know.
They made us read the code of conduct when I was in elementary school. We read it and I'm like, but you have to understand, a minor can't get joined during the contract anyway, but that was to program you for later on to just go along with the shit, right?
Right.
They start early programming you into the bullshit. And that's what has happened to us as humans. We have been taught to believe we are the corporate fiction, and we all grew up. We couldn't wait to get driver's license.
I forgot to mention it too when we was telling them about the Social Security. You could tell you are two entities. You're your private citizen person, I guess. I mean, you could consider yourself with the name, blah blah blah.
Not a person.
You're right. But the thing is, if you ever notice when you get mailed to your house, let's say any bill,
your mortgage payment,
you're going to notice that it's all capital letters.
That's right.
Why is it all capital letters?
All corporate entities that's a dead entity is always in all capital letters. And if you go to the gravestones, you'll notice when they made the gravestones, it's
all capital letters. And we're not being like crazy. I know it sounds wild, but this is the honest truth. You got to notice that I watched this man walk into 36th District Court in downtown Detroit, right? And first thing after he let them know that he was only here under duress and that that special appearance, that the only reason he's here is that they said there would be a warrant for his arrest if he wasn't. After I saw him doing that, the one thing that really struck me as odd was that he reasserted himself as the private entity, not the corporate entity. So he pretty much let them know that I can't even speak on behalf of the corporate entity. Is that I know
you're the holder in due course because it is yours. You the holder.
Yeah, you
in due
can't.
Course,
but you chose not to.
You're not that.
You have the right. You have the right to
course.
not.
Right.
I don't even know.
Right.
I could go completely bipolar. Like.
And then I always one of the first things I always say is you don't have a corporate elector. Ma'am, sir, whoever. I tell you.
And what is that corporate?
It's a victim.
Exactly.
The victim, the body of a crime is the corporate elect. That's all Latin terms.
Yeah, it's all Latin terms, but that's where all our legal shit came from anyway. Like the whole. So the interesting thing is, he walked up to the court when we was in court. At the first people there, I swear to God, we waited when they first opened the door. Traffic court, you know how it be, and you know how you gotta wait for the judge for an hour to get their slow ass in there. So when we do all that, so mind you, we there early, we wait for an hour for the judge. We in that bitch there in 2 hours. You feel like by the time the judge come out there, everybody got a dick sucking stand and shit. So we stand and all
They
that.
raising the dead.
They're raising the dead, right? But look, I'm gonna explain it, right? This deep. He was the first person in there, so of course the whoever the bailiff, whoever the fuck pointed to him to be like, do you want to go? He was like, no, I'm not signing. I don't want a public defender. I'm gonna represent myself. The court was like, you seen like the little stutter in the court, like what? Because they must not get that a lot. So the thing is, they was like, okay, well, boom, you know, the public defender in there, so they go to the next person, boom. They asked this man every time, every case that wrapped up, they was like, are you ready? Are you ready to have a public defender? He would say, no, I'm gonna represent myself. Do you know mind you, we came in there at 8:30. They didn't see us until what time?
They cleared the court out.
Right, what time was that? About 2:30?
Right at about lunch, after lunch, right around
2 o'clock.
Yeah, it'd be late.
It was some 1:30 at least. It was at least 1:30.
They cleared the court. Yeah, it's at least 1.
And it was so wild. Once you finally went up, you know what I'm saying? I heard the cops say, that Facebook lawyer shit ain't gonna work.
I tried to speak to the cops.
Yeah, but he was like,
I'm like, I seen them both. I'm like, them the two cops that gave me the so-called tickets, the charges. So I'm like, I'm trying to talk to him. I'm like, I'm telling them I defend myself. And I call the bailiff over because it's improper in their procedure to just go talk to them. They and that other, the cops sit over on the side. So you can't just go talk to them. So I call the bailiff. I'm like, can I speak? Can you have me so I can speak to him? And she's like, yeah. And then I'm like, they like, well, we only want to talk to your lawyer. I'm like, well, I represent myself. And they like, we don't believe in that Facebook lawyer bullshit. So that was the funny part about it. They just started laughing. Me and Chris started laughing and like looking at each other like doing our shoulders. And man, that's what they do. But the moment you accept a public defender, you automatically are enjoined with him.
And why is that? Look, you used a special term I wanted to tell the people, and it was very interesting because when you first said it, they kind of was like, they knew it was truth to it. He was like, I don't want y'all a Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Why? Right. Tell the people why you use that term and what a Trojan horse means to people that don't.
All of the public defender in the courthouse works for the court. They don't work for you. So if you let the enemy, you already lost. The moment all they gonna do is try to make a deal so that they can collect the benefits off of that bond that they created. That's all. The public defender works for them. It's a
the same entity.
It's a conflict of interest.
And you should raise that point every time you get a public defender because it is a conflict of interest. And the thing about it is you have to waive rights. Most times, people that get public defenders, when you catch a serious case and you don't have no money, blah blah blah, they're pressuring you to get a public defender. Now, in a lot of cases where there are crimes and shit, I do suggest you to have to do what you gotta do. I'm not telling nobody not to get a public defender, but when you're dealing with situations where there's no crime involved, you should be aware of your rights enough to be able to fight it, to defend off all that.
Research. What have we come to that we just take people's advice, or we don't think for ourselves. We don't want to pick up a book. We'll get information like, oh, that's what he did, but we won't do any of this for ourselves.
Yeah, we won't.
I tell people all the time, don't believe a damn
Yeah, you be quick to throw Google right there. You be quick to back everything you said up. But that a lot of people not like that. People, we in the lazy generation. Just think about it.
But we in the information age also.
No, you're right. But it came. It's still lazy. It came at such ease. We had to look for those answers. I feel like my generation was the last generation. I was born in '91. I feel like my generation was amongst one of the last generations to have to go seek the shit. We had to go to the library. We had to still go do that before all this.
My generation is even worse because even if you give us the information, and I'm 60, you give us the information, we gonna still go along with status quo bullshit. We've been programmed to just go along to get along, and as long as we do that, they gonna keep doing the same old bullshit to us, and that has to end. And we have to understand that our way of thinking and doing stuff was dead wrong, and if we want it better for our children, we gotta change ourselves first, and then we gotta convey that to the younger generation to move forward with it. And then everything will change once we start teaching different.
We gotta teach different. Think about it, like, instead of science, they should teach you how to like basic shit to do around the house to maintain the living thing, like how to maintain out like your whole living thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Even to help you in your household, right? You know that we should teach that type of shit. They used to have them type of household training classes, right? My mom said she had that, right? A baking class. We didn't have no shit like that.
They made boys take care of homemaking.
You see what I'm saying?
You had to learn how to cook for yourself, make little simple meals and whatnot.
And say for instance like knowing your rights. Tell me how in the fuck do you throw an 18-year-old out there and they don't know their rights?
But look at here, we had civics when I was in school, 7th grade. That was early junior high school. Junior high school started at 7 when I was in school. 7th grade, 8th grade. They taught civics, but they just glossed over the crap. Even the instructor, the teacher, I don't think the teachers knew anything about civics. I don't think any of the teachers.
What is civics for everybody that don't know? Because my generation didn't have that.
Civil law.
Okay.
It's civil law. It's basically.
I had civics in college, but for people my generation growing up before that never had it.
But back then, in the 70s, when I was coming into it, all of those so-called traffic tickets, they weren't jailable offenses. That shit didn't start happening until the late 70s and 80s, where all of these so-called civil offenses, so-called misdemeanor crimes, become jailable offenses that they can actually attach.
You know what's so deep? Us being in Detroit, right? That brings so much significance to the situation. Not only with just police in general go back to slavery, how the slaves tried to get here to go across to Canada, just realized that they was getting killed, thrown in the river and shit. All the blood that's in Detroit River. Not to say none of that, right? But let's talk about the fact of talking car industries. You know how we developed the cars, and we were the first to have a stop sign. I mean, what is it? The light, the stop, traffic lights and shit. So when you think we must have facilitated or powered the municipal court system as far as with traffic court aspect, we must have had a huge part of that.
Yeah, Detroit was,
not to mention the fact that we're still amongst the highest auto insurance in the country. This is 2020 October.
Yeah, all of that started from that.
You see what I'm saying?
But before that, everyone had a right to travel.
Right.
Literally.
And we forgot that. We forgot
that. That is the forgotten law. That is the most forgotten law of all laws. The right to travel.
You think that by getting in the car and driving to the gas station, I don't give a fuck if it's a plate on this bitch. I don't give a fuck if it's registered, insurance. I got the right to take this bitch to the gas station, go put some gas in it, go get me some blunts and come back. I got the right to do that.
Even more so, what that video that started this whole segment demonstrate to me, and it goes way back before there was even automobiles, when the white man can come into your property and round your wife.
That's exactly what it is, because that's your property. They ain't your automobile, not your vehicle, because that's a commercial term.
That's right. Well, the vehicle is also your property, but the only difference is once you register it with the state,
it's joint property,
it's
right?
Property then.
So what he said right there, y'all, was that the minute y'all register y'all vehicles with the state of Michigan and get a title and register your titles, you are giving them 50% of the vehicle, which means they can impound it. That is why the police impound your car. Think about it.
They can place a lien. And when they pull you over and you give them the ID, they do a lien search on their computer. That is what they're doing. It's actually called a lien search. And if you go back to the Constitution says we have an unalienable. We've been taught to say unalienable, but it's an unalienable.
Y'all heard that? Can you repeat that one more time?
When the Constitution says, and you can look at it, pull it up, we have an unalienable right to life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness.
You heard that, y'all?
They cannot place a lien on human life. They can
so
only
look,
place
let's
a lien
think about
on
this.
Property.
So let's to the basis of what he's trying to say for anybody that might have went over your head. Long story short, if your car is not registered with the state of Michigan, and you driving it, you feel as if by driving it I'm doing something wrong, and they flick you and you think that because it's not registered that they could impound my vehicle. No, that's actually stealing your vehicle.
That's stealing your vehicle. That's theft.
But if you don't know to challenge that, you're gonna pay for your shit back.
Right, that's right.
Oh my God, they got it rigged, dog.
Now they've extorted.
They have extorted the shit out of you.
That's a 750.2.
You're paying for your own robbery.
That's right.
Think about that.
But all you have to do is there is remedies for all crimes. If you commit a crime, there's a remedy for them coming at you. If they commit a crime against you, there's a remedy for you also. And the fact is, at the same time we're learning these rights, We need to learn the remedy, and once we start hitting them upside the head with the remedy, this shit will change. Cause they gave that young man a lottery ticket this morning, and and I'm sure he knows how to execute.
Look, because he seemed a little, but turns out he did his little thing. He did know. Shout outs to him. I'm gonna try to see if I could get close to anybody that knew him or posted the video, because I admire, you know what I'm saying, the fact that we don't see too many fucking African American males that
yanked him out of the car like a
and look, and he held his shit down, you know what I'm saying? Not only that, did you see he had a baby in the car? The baby was so young that she was faced the opposite way. They wasn't even facing the same road you facing. So you know they young at that point, under 6 months at least. You know what I'm saying? So when you think about that, they didn't give a fuck. They never give a fuck. Look at the way they did Philantro Castro. What's his name? Castile or something, right? That was an awful situation. They shot him. His kids was in the backseat screaming. They don't give a fuck. 3 kids was in the car. Come on, man.
Come on,
man.
With all the police around him, what are you gonna do? You shoot him in
now,
the
look,
back.
just a question. Would the kids be able to testify that their dad was not grabbing a knife? Because you know the police is using the knife shit. Regardless if we know that's bullshit.
That's bullcrap.
But would the kids be ordered to testify? Not to get off subject?
No.
Right.
They can finesse the child. And they can finesse
You know what I'm saying? The defense, the prosecution,
depends on how old the child is.
I would try to put the kids on the stand, because the defense can't go crazy defending the officers.
Right.
So if they trying to defend the officers, so that might be something they should look into. I'm sure they already on it.
It depends on what the oldest kid was in the backseat.
But that
do it with a young kid.
It's so many situations. Not even to use knowing your rights and to misbehave with it, right? But we need to know our rights just so we can live functionally.
But our system is a slave system. That nom de guerre that they created, the all capital letters, nom de guerre is a entity to do business in combat. It's literally trading with the enemy is what it is. And it's maritime law. And we need to understand the remedies to go back at them when they come at us in this way. And until we do that, they gonna keep doing it. We need to file them 18 USC federal civil rights cases against them. Dude has got $1 million case.
I hope he know that.
I'm sure he do.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure he know it. It would seem like it.
But look, this the thing. This how I feel though. With more citizens or more humans just knowing their rights, being more informed, that's gonna put lawyers out of business.
That's fine.
I know that's fine. I'm just saying at the end of the day, people don't realize that.
Especially the public pretenders.
People don't realize. I like that word, public pretenders.
That's what they not working for the public.
People don't realize though that not only don't need a law degree in certain states to have to become a lawyer, lawyers weren't always here. So imagine how bad they were railroading niggas before the public defender. The public defender actually was a good thing, man, at the time.
This thing that I seen actually
think about that.
reminded me so much of the slave catchers. They didn't want
that was definitely slave patrol right there.
They didn't want their slave getting away.
They did not. Did you see how he did it away from his family?
Yeah.
He humiliated them, put trauma on them. They should, not only should he be able to sue, she should be able to sue, and the baby should be able to sue.
She was crying because she was crying. That would cause
see what I'm saying?
on her.
Period.
And
that shit it's deep, man.
All of that is cost. That's a cost to the so-called public entities that violate people's rights every day. Now, unfortunately, thousands after that case, I'm sure pretty much the same thing happened to somebody else. They stop the car, they ID everybody in the car. That is against the
man. Do you know how many times where I'm with friends and you can see motherfuckers.
Don't get stopped in Dearborn.
No.
They IDing everybody.
Hold on. Now, first of all, Dearborn is where I caught my gun case when I was 15.
They IDing everybody in the car.
So, but I would love to run into Dearborn this age.
Yeah, right.
I don't give a fuck about the motherfuckers.
Right.
But then the thing what I'm saying is, the same way his girlfriend made it kind of difficult for him when he was trying to tell her to get out the car, the same way that I know that certain friends I'll be riding with in the car, a turn bitch made if the police stopped us no matter how tough motherfuckers come off,
Talk
you know,
that tough shit.
the minute the police they willing to not only give up the ID without knowing what the fuck, they step out the
Get
car,
out-
do
get out
whatever
the
they
car,
doing,
all
all
that.
that, while I'm trying to stand firm. I would hate to be in that situation,
Stand your ground.
but you know, it's an interesting thing. That's why, you know, like
You have to stand your ground. If you don't know your rights and exercise your rights, you don't have none of them shit.
Look,
Period.
this is the thing. Do you think public defenders take an oath not to admit to shit?
Well, they all look here. They got 2 oaths. They swore the oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, but they also swear an oath to the fucking bar. And the bar, it has nothing to do with the U.S. Constitution.
All right, bet.
The bar is British Accredited Registry. That's what it stands for. Most people don't know that. It's out of Europe. It's out of the London city.
British
It's out of the
Accredited
Middle
Registry.
Temple.
That's what
It's
bar
out of the
stands
Middle Temple in London. For real. The Middle Temple is over America. And
Man,
that's where it comes out of. It's British Accredited Registry. They swore an oath to that shit.
so look, the reason
So
I
they-
asked that,
They traders.
look, the
They
reason I
traders
asked
to the
that is
Constitution.
because I got a friend. Shout out my homegirl Angela, and shout outs my homegirl Jennifer. Right, both for UD, they was freshmen. We was freshmen together, and both of them lived a dream.
Okay.
Now, mind you, we came in trying to become lawyers, right? And I've seen them now, you know, pass the bar and they doing their thing. So like, I've asked them about this, both of them, and that's why I name dropped them. And they both kind of told me that they wasn't too familiar. Now, just like, you know, that one situation, I don't know if that was a playoff, if a motherfucker was just like, you know, nah, I don't know, because it would kill into their business. If a salesperson asks, you know where I can get this shit cheaper? No, I don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
They
So
don't have ethics when they come in, when they
exactly,
fuck they bottom line,
exactly.
man.
So I don't know if that's what it was. I would not hope that's not what the case is. But the reason I'm saying that is, if
That's what the case
my homegirl Angela worked so hard to become a lawyer. She's a public defender in Los Angeles County, right? Made it from Detroit. She made it from Detroit and did that, right?
One of the biggest in the world.
And not to put her business out there, but I'm a real nigga. I gotta say this. I'm not bad at math, but when I first got to UD, I had to take that math class that wasn't accredited. I'm not ashamed about it, but I know a lot of people are. I don't know how she feels. She shouldn't be fulfilled, but she was in that bitch with me. So that's another thing that really made me feel real. Like, we was not only broke from Detroit together, not athletes.
You don't need math to do
No,
law.
I know. But what I'm saying is, but a lot of people,
comprehend.
exactly,
That's
people
it.
don't know that. But what I'm saying is, having that kind of disadvantage going into college, but yet still being able to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
She wasn't intimidated. She did her thing. So I'm saying, for somebody who worked as hard as her, put as everything, you mean to tell me she made it that far, and they don't fucking tell them about common law? I hope she lying to me. That's the where I'm getting at. I hope that she lying to me because it'll kill her business, but I don't think she is. I believe that they don't tell the police and tell
Okay.
the public defenders this
Now,
shit.
you remember the public pretender in Harper Woods that I called the Trojan horse?
Hell yeah, I loved it.
After the Harper Woods, he gave me his card. He like, if you want any questions asked, here's my card. You can call me. Come out to my office. I go out to his office, and St. Clair Shores, that's where his office is at. St. Clair Shores on Jefferson. I go out there. As soon as I get to his door, right smack dab in my face is something talking about common law, and his law license, and on top of, higher than everything else, was common law. So when he first started into law, he understood that really is the law of the
Right.
land, and that's the most.
But as
fair
he
way.
started making more money,
and then it became about commerce and money now.
man,
And so it ain't nothing to victimize poor people or ignorant people.
that's so deep. Cause look, coming from Detroit, I didn't know what kind of law I wanted to practice. Right? I just know that I was about to be in school to be a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I was going full fledged. Now the thing is, I didn't want to do the typical shit, so I was like, I'm about to be corporate law. When you're looking at all the different laws, that sound like the most money to me. So look, I was like, corporate law. Look, when I found out that what corporate lawyers do, it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? The type of fraudulent,
Right.
backbending, and not only that, I don't get a chance to argue in court.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
They settle.
yeah, those are settle masters.
They settle
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
maybe at a point in time, that's what lawyers want to do, but nah, fuck that.
Right.
I that was wrong.
That's
So
easy, it's easy money.
right.
It's really
So
easy money.
it wasn't for me though. So that was me turning down the lawyer's corporate law shit, the money off rip. I was like, that ain't me.
250 an hour with 300.
But then I got real hip into criminal law.
Right.
Criminal law got so deep to me because look, it was a case that we did a mock trial on, and where his name was, I believe it was Antoine Jackson or Antoine Walker. I'm gonna double check. Don't quote me on that, y'all. But it was out of D.C., right? Now you know the fine line shit between D.C. and Maryland, like the laws, how Baltimore and DC, you know, the little shit. So he was on these little outskirts that was a public road, right? Now mind you, they put a tracker on his vehicle, tracked him, boom. They found $11 million worth of coke, found the money, all that, boom, right? Now the thing is, he went to jail a couple years, ended up appealing, going to Supreme Court all the way because, come to find out, they put the track. They had a 90-day watch on the tracker and a 10-day installation. They didn't install it until the 11th day.
Oh, okay.
Now, even though that probable cause was still apparent, we had to argue that.
But the doctrine, the main doctrine that got him off,
was the fact that it was that 11th day. It was the fruits from a poisonous tree. And that's one thing that, to go back to what we're saying about people knowing that if a cop flick you and if I got drugs, whatever, if I'm doing something, whatever, as long as I'm not violating anybody, whatever, technically that's still my business. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I'm just keeping you within your rights. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to just walk. I'm saying it in a sense of like just making sure that you know what you're doing. You know, they can't go straight to my trunk if I know my rights, because regardless of what they find, the judge will throw that shit out. It's fruits from a poisonous tree, and they don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So you got your experienced cops that are aware of that. You know what I'm saying? A lot of cops aren't aware. You know, I actually, honestly, when it come down to it, with everything that you know, with the dealing with, you know, the legal system, how do you prefer a younger cop or an experienced cop? Like, to flick you? I know that's a weird question, but I'm not scared of the police to flick me.
The experienced one is better because once they teach them younger ones, they got a year and they're usually trained by somebody, and then you don't know how gung ho. They usually the most gung ho ones, and they don't. It's always the younger ones that like, are you acting hostile? Like,
them the ones you could flip the authority on though. I hear you. Them the ones you could. The minute you start asking for supervisor and you kill them with the UCC language.
I got gray hair, so it's different than if I say something to them than you. No,
you could really finesse them.
Yeah, the younger one probably, but I'm
talking about once you start throwing out them specifics, UCC 1-308, they gonna be like, oh, this nigga's a lawyer. Let me get my hands off this nigga.
The police officer in Harper Woods, the one twisted my arm, I asked him, have you sworn the oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution? He agreed, yeah.
No, but that wasn't specific enough. I'm talking about like some of your language.
No, I gave him my common law ID. He was the one saying it's not valid.
That still ain't good enough. I'm talking about some of your shit that you know, like that extortion of right shit. What's the one you just said?
Well, a lot of that, he's the reason I started getting up on a lot of this. I was doing the common law before that, but as far as all the statutes and codes and I was up on the UCC. I knew about the conspiracy against right, deprivation of rights. I knew that. But as far as that you can come back and get a remedy and how to sue them, how to file a case in federal court against them.
You have to learn that.
How to charge them with extortion. And because until we start doing that, they can keep...
Shit.
If nothing happens to them for violating people's rights, then we'll give them... They gonna just keep doing it. The moment you start suing them...
This the thing too. You absolutely right. The moment you start suing them is the minute that shit gonna start changing. The minute that people start challenging.
You was in court when the administrator said, the administrative judge, so-called judge said, he's not gonna sue me in the Supreme Court. You remember that right before they dismissed it? She looked at the city attorney and she like, he's not gonna sue me in the Supreme Court, and they dismissed that crap. 6 friggin' charges with the police there.
All dismissals.
And then they walked out. But the interesting thing is what they put on dismissal: failure to appear. That's what they put.
Because no, you did though. The corporate entity
failure to identify.
You did. The corporate entity did not identify itself.
Right.
You chose to be the private citizen, so technically you didn't.
That's right. That's what they. So that's the thing. The moral.
They admitted to it, and I realized without prejudice is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, without prejudice. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? At the time, I thought that means that they could have opened it back up. No, they really can't.
With prejudice,
There's no.
It's even better. So
Yeah.
you ask when you go in and you ask.
But they don't
for
want to set that kind of we know that if they would have did it with prejudice, that would have set a precedent.
Right, they can't come back.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That would have changed every case going forward. We would have.
You know, that was even an offer, because she didn't say, she asked was I'm good. If you remember, she like, well, we gonna make this without prejudice. Basically, she asked if that was cool. I could have objected to that and said, no, with prejudice. I could have objected.
You could have,
She
but
offered.
it's cool.
Everything is an offer.
It's cool. They wouldn't in a million years
I knew they
open that
wasn't
shit
coming
up.
back with it.
Right.
After she said he's not gonna sue me, because what got
It's kind of like them not. They let you off without admitting that they was trying to railroad you.
right.
In essence.
Absolutely. That's exactly.
So
what
it's kind of like when you take a settlement without them admitting guilt.
That's exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
took place. Exactly.
So I kind of, it is what it is. But I'm glad you was able to get off. To everybody listening, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna leave a certain email down in the link below, that if y'all dealing with any like traffic case, y'all got any traffic questions, I'm gonna send an email. I'm gonna put an email down. We're gonna create an email for Uncle D.Y. So if y'all got questions, y'all can send him questions and ask him some things y'all might be going through that he could potentially do it. Now I suggest y'all do that this time before he think of scaling this into a business and doing municipal consulting. You know what I'm saying? But that ain't his drift though. He genuinely for the people, you know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day,
I want this information free.
so if y'all got any questions, y'all please shoot.
I want everybody, especially the young people, because y'all the ones they victimize every day, because they know y'all don't know.
They know. And look, the thing is, even when you know, niggas be scared.
Yeah, you can't get scared.
You can't get scared. Look,
They work for you.
You know what's so crazy?
Public service.
now look what happened. You remember we renewed my license. You was with me, we renewed the license and shit that time. I think it was 2018, right? So look, this what happened. I had got a ticket to 2017 December, right? The ticket was bullshit, right? Mind you, I was in the third lane on the freeway going my way to Atlanta, right? On like 275 or 175 going to Atlanta type shit from Detroit. So they got me in like Romulus or some shit. It's one of them southern, counties, right? 34th district. So, interesting enough, I got flicked by one of them cars that was in the middle. That was in the middle lane. What is that? What is that?
That's fiduciary.
What is fiduciary?
All public servants are fiduciary to the public. They have to work for your benefit.
Right.
So they can't. So when they go against, they breaking their oath. Anytime they do anything that's not to your benefit.
Right.
Especially if you haven't committed a crime, they breaking their oath.
Right. So look, I'm glad I know that now. Look, the thing is, so I'm on my way. They flicked me. I'm doing 5 over, right? So think about it. I'm doing 5 over, right? But I'm thinking that that's the fast lane and shit. So look, boom. But I still tried to slow down when I see the police a little bit. You know how it go. So I'm like, damn. They flicked me. They flicked me on the left side. So that lets you know how I was on the third lane. He walk up to the car and shit. I'm eating food, all that shit. I'm like, I'm on my way to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing I'm down there in school. This and that.
You have dread?
Probably, but look, it's all good. Hold on, this is the point. No, it's all good. I love all that. I knew my rights. This the thing. This the point that was deep. He didn't. I did sign the ticket, right? And it got to the point because my resistance in the car to the people that was in the car on their way to Atlanta with me, I put them in a position where like they never even heard this shit. So they was like, and it was their situation. I was driving like a rental that wasn't on my name, so they was, you know what I'm saying, this and that. So I felt like, fuck it, I'm gonna do this ticket, right? I'm gonna fight it anyway. Not realizing I signed it. But I realized it, you know how it go. But I was still learning about this.
Sign it now. If you would,
hold on, I'm not signing shit.
You can sign. No,
I'm not signing. That USCC -308.
Or you can put UDC next to your.
I'm not signing shit though. But look.
Arrest and coercion. All
right, but look, hold on. So I remember the story. I don't want to forget. Hold on, I want to forget the story. So I put the UCC -308. I feel, but I'm not signing shit. The thing is, so I get a ticket. I call a ticket in a couple days in. When I'm in Atlanta, right? Because it's worrying the shit out of me now. So I'm like, fuck. My license, I got to renew my shit in a couple months. I'm mad and shit, like, fuck. So this December, I get it. They never could find her. So you know how I go. I don't know how long it took to get in the system, whatever. first few days, I kept calling every day. They didn't have it, so shit, fuck that shit. February come around, we renew the license, and come to find out, something happened or something that they told me that my license was suspended, doing something. But I had just got a new license, so this is a year after the license thing, so I didn't know my license had been suspended. So I go address that at Romulus immediately. I go into court like, yo, I told y'all I didn't live here, whoop-de-wop, you know, blah, blah, blah. I told I was doing 5 over in the middle lane. I told him that, this and that, but I did sign a ticket. But what I'm telling you is that, boom, 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 y'all still don't have jurisdiction, blah, blah, blah. I still tried to challenge it this time, boom, boom, boom. Long story short, I didn't end up paying, but the way they tried to finesse me in court, even after I signed the ticket, I still got out of not paying. And that right there let me know something.
You can sign, and point of clarification, you can sign the ticket, you don't have to even put UCC, you can just put UDC, under duress and coercion. And anytime you under duress or coercion, there is no contract. All contracts are void under duress and coercion. So if a lot of places say, if you don't sign, we gonna arrest you. So then that's part of.
That's what I want you to say. So right.
In Georgia, I think they got that. If you don't sign, no, in California, used to be if you didn't sign it, they just want your signature and they let you go. But then once you sign it, you put UDC up under there. They get their copy. You get your copy, and that nullifies. That's a contract. Anything you put is a contract.
You know what's controversial? I want to talk about this. With what we're seeing in this video with this young black man out of Maryland, you know, getting dragged out the passenger seat. This is not just a problem for black Americans. The first way you're going to read the headline, like the way they put black passenger, right, TMZ fed into the black stigma. But no, this is not a race thing. This is something that I believe that QAnon, hold on, let's talk about those Proud Boys, QAnon, those
constitutionalists.
Yes, those right-wing groups. I'm sure that this is something that would bother them. If you took black out and just put passenger, made it a white person, they would be flabbergasted off this.
If that happened to any of their children or their loved ones, it has nothing to do with so-called color of skin, but that just your rights itself. I say this all the time. Whatever those people are out there fighting for their rights to tote a long gun on their shoulder or their right to carry, and they got a right to go up to the governor's mansion and walk around open carrying, you have the same right. Instead of you saying because they might be nationalists or asshole white supremacists, their right, the same rights they got, is the same rights you got. And all you have to do is piggyback on theirs. And if all of y'all, you are equal. Smith and Wesson made both of y'all equal. Now you learn how to exercise your rights the same way they do. You learn how to use your legally carried weapon the same way they do. And now they can't buy it. Nobody can hurt and harm you. So why are we so afraid of these so-called white supremacists? Because they got weapons that they walk around with. Why are we saying the police should automatically come in and kill them all?
Look, let me talk on that, because look, I'm a little bit more liberal than you in this situation, right?
Okay.
But I completely understand you. And the one thing that I do notice in the argument that I hear certain Democrats say when they talk about that Michigan situation, when they ran up in the state capitol house and housed at a flag, it's kind of, that's the reason why I said QAnon will have a problem with this. See, we have an underlying issue of race, but the thing is, we said it earlier, enemy of my enemy is a friend of me.
Right.
So the police doing shit like this to citizens is a threat to all citizens. Right. So if we could recognize that aspect and highlight that, maybe we could get them on board with this police disfund thing.
Than we have difference.
And they don't even realize it, man.
Nobody realizes because we caught up on
the race. But it's hard not to, because I'm caught up on race. But look, I know I expect you to be more caught up on race, but for the fact you're not, I commend you, because I'm 29 and I'm completely caught up on race. Like, not only that, you gotta imagine, I went to an all-black school my whole life until I went to college, and then I went to UD, which is a Jesuit all-white D1 school. So I was I was one of the only black motherfuckers in there that wasn't an athlete. You get me?
In the aerospace industry.
No, I'm saying. I'm talking about just what that did to me.
I worked around engineers.
No, I'm saying. I'm talking about you had a little bit more time to grow from your shit. What I'm saying is, that UD situation fucked me up so bad that it was like, I remember a situation. I'm gonna say it too. It's gonna be funny for the podcast. I'm gonna say it. Go ahead, fuck it. We had a Russian friend. Me and my roommate. My roommate was black. We had a Russian friend who we got real cool with. Shout out to my dog Ivan. Ivan was always trying to put us on all the situations. We was always trying to put him on all the black shit, right? So look, he had some girls, some white girls. Okay. Ivan had been that nigga who was riding around in the Beamer with the black motherfucker smoking weed. That's I guess became his persona as a freshman, right? So the white girls kind of knew that, you know, he was liable to come with some niggas. So the one thing she said, she didn't realize that he was on like speakerphone and shit. And he was like, all right, yeah, I'm about to come through. She like, bring some friends. She asked the nigga, bring some friends. And he like, all right, go. I'm with my dogs right now. We on our way. I'm like, hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, damn, we got some white girls. You know what I'm saying? You know how it goes. This is probably my first white girls at that time, matter of fact. So, you know, that didn't even happen at that time. So I was Jews, right? They like, just make sure it's not the black ones. I heard this broad say that. So look, mind you, it crushed me. I told Ivan to still go get the girls, right? We didn't stop him. He didn't even go, cause he a real nigga. But I seen a girl, I seen a girl a couple days later or whatever, walking through, and she, hey Chris, oh my God, look. And look, it crushed me though. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And I never even addressed her. Listen, I seen her for years after this. I still know her. She still probably like follow me and shit, and she don't even know. I had a job where I remember everybody kind of seen me, like literally. So everybody, the register. So literally, if you ate food in that motherfucker, you see me. You know, I can't. I'm at a job or something. I can't be rude.
I'm a confrontational motherfucker,
and that's you.
And I can deal
that's
with
you.
that. And so if a
yeah, no, it's all good.
Disrespect me. And whether they know I know about it, I'm addressing their ass.
You know, I don't need to.
How can you be two-faced and come up to me with all that happy-go-lucky?
Before you went there with it, I was trying to tell you the one of the emotions why I had to save face was not only because of my job and shit like that, but because white people instantly made it seem like I was the one that could get liquor and drugs for them. And I was y'all age, motherfucker, we freshmen. And I was able to do it. But the thing was, I learned how to get my hustle on off that. So I chose the dollar over my self-esteem at that moment. And again, it caused problems for me. And that's the reason why I don't give a fuck. Like, don't get me wrong, like, I don't feel a way towards white people. I got white friends from UD to this day. But what I'm saying is, it was certain situations that really made me pro-black. You see what I'm saying? I could have been Martin Luther King. Let's walk on some, you know what I'm saying?
Walking away from opportunities because the environment wasn't conducive to the way.
Period.
What I believe in. If it's not conducive, if the people, I'm not making nobody money. Hates me.
I know, I understand, and I respect that wholeheartedly. But look, I'm coming from the stance. Of somebody who, I came up in the corporate system, so I didn't have a choice whether or not I had to be around motherfuckers like that. So I was so young to where I didn't know fight back yet. So before I got to the point to where I refused to be in that kind of situation, now I understand the mentality of the motherfucker that lacks information, that just don't know what to do, don't know what the alternative could be if I rebel against that situation. So I had to say that though.
I was in my early 20s when I worked in the aerospace industry in Cali.
Yeah, look. If I didn't learn how to be cool and still, as a black person, you know how to still deal with those hunky, racist motherfuckers who don't fuck with you, whether you work in customer service, whether you work in sales, they don't fuck with you, but you still got to do your job. So that's the point I'm making.
I got a question then.
What?
How do you deal with I seen one of your sites on one of your videos that say the black man that's trying to act white. How do you deal with them? Because there's a lot of them that go up that
niggas
by brown nose, and they get up that ladder by brown. Now when you come in, they treat you worse than them motherfuckers.
Hey man.
So now, what do you do?
Those niggas made it hard for me at UD. You wanna know why? Because look,
I got less respect.
Look, those motherfuckers I would see that was getting the white girls, I was jealous, right? No, listen, I'm just telling you in the moment. I'm grown enough to, you know. So what I'm telling you is in the moment, like, damn, like, I'm trying to show these white girls that I'm, you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I'm too hood for them. I come from where I'm good in the hood, but it's like, you know, I'm too black for them white girls.
I would love for you to do your voice that you got down to a science right now.
What voice?
Come on.
What voice?
Hit the white voice.
Oh, absolutely, in particularly. if it's anything in particular, hey, look, I'm gonna go ahead since I don't work for the company no more. I'm gonna go ahead and give you my one pitch, my recent pitch from the last company I was working for. It used to be like, hey, welcome to. If there's anything in particular I can help you with today, my name's Chris. Just let me know. We got everything from blah 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 blah. If there's anything in particular you're looking, I make sure that I break. If I could, I try to fit as many syllables into in particularly as I can to the word. If you ask me to say it 4 times, I'm gonna say it different every time. I'll be like, in particularly, in particularly, in particularly.
Right.
Like literally, you gotta, and that's how cold I got it. I hate it. But in the midst of it, no, listen, I didn't have a choice, right?
Right.
The thing is, my very first job was some cotton picking bullshit, right? I was 17, right, and got a job as a banquet server, right, to where I was banquet serving with like bow ties and the black and white shit. 17, right? First job, first official job, legally, and then was out there serving rich ass motherfuckers like that was just doing so much racist shit. So I felt like I was in the 30s or the 40s how racist they was, right? Hold on. So that shit prepared me kinda, but for U of D, I was thinking like, damn, them was the old white people, right? By the time I got to college, it was the young girls. That's the part that killed me. I was ready for them white girls. Black niggas not to be like that your whole life. If you grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood, every chance you get to see some white girls, you like, hey, what's up? Cause it's rare. You watched that movie Man of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Robert De Niro? Alright, well, you ever be seeing those racist, them old black and white movies, not black and white, but like them racist movies and where the black person be having to overcome the racism and still be great kind of shit? He lost his leg. Remember his leg got cut off? Alright, bet. I say that to say, that's the mentality that I tried to take on when I wanted to quit in those racist environments. Like when I was 17 and like, fuck this job, realizing this is my first job, I didn't want to quit because I was finally getting some money. I didn't know what I would do, so I stayed at it, even though that like the nigga just shunning me or they spitting in they plate because they know I'ma clean it up or like some of the shit like that.
I couldn't be Jackie Robinson.
That's the point. I was trying to be Jackie Robinson, and I was fresh off of that pistol case. I just got off probation. I'm trying to change my life. I had just got this good ass little job at the little,
I can't do. You have to be twice as good as them motherfuckers to be with them. I can't do that,
man.
So
I can't either.
To be with them.
I tried, but I tried. Didn't you try at a point?
No.
You never tried. You said
No.
Man, I tried.
I was naturally gifted with a photographic.
I didn't come out the gate trying, because mind you, I grew up black community. But when I chose to go to all white college, I was too black, way too black.
My dad always read. You see my encyclopedias all grew up from. That's all I remember was books somewhere around. I grew up being able to do this, to read and comprehend.
Yeah, I respect that. I'm just talking about.
So that got shit to do with culture. It got something to do with what you learn at home. I grew up my neighborhood was worse than what you grew up in. I guarantee.
No, I'm saying, when did you first? I mean, because you grew up in Flint.
I grew up in Flint.
Exactly. So Flint has. I mean, despite the fact that Detroit fucked up, you know that. But just saying. It is more of a lack of opportunity in Flint. So despite how bad Detroit is, Detroit still has better opportunities than Flint. So I give you that.
Much more. Why you think I came back here after I left Cali?
Period.
And not go to Flint?
Look, when those motherfuckers, what was we even talking about?
We talking about opportunity and trying to climb that corporate.
Oh no, the fucking with the white people, because you asked about the thing. Ain't nothing worse than I don't try to be white, right? So I'm not gonna say that certain white girls try to be black, but like what I'm saying is, there's a difference between the white girl that date black niggas and then the white girl that don't date black niggas. So what I'm telling you is that I made it to that stratosphere, and where I was fucking with some white girls who I knew that if they was fucking with an athlete on the low, they would never let their friends or family know. So what I'm saying is, certain white girls want to flaunt that they with a nigga, black nigga type shit. No, I'm talking about like, if I got a white girl who I know that she not experienced with dealing with niggas, and she cheat on me with a white nigga.
Using racist terms in the whole
no, I'm not trying to be racist. I'm being honest. It is a difference. It is a difference. If a white girl,
you like that word, but that word.
What you mean, nigga?
Okay.
Don't give niggas nigga.
You got one of these white girls. How you talk to them about?
Well, no, what type of white girl? You get no, it do.
Y'all hate y'all.
Listen.
Y'all doing that. Y'all.
All right, look.
Y'all vibing.
All right, hold on. Look.
You gotta
imagine.
To that mold And then she like, hit it, nigga. She, man, you getting in that mode and she's like, hit it, nigga. That wasn't my
Hit it what? You talking about like fucking?
Yeah, right.
What are you talking
That's
about?
what my grandfather said.
Oh, I thought you were talking about play the drum.
Yeah,
Hit it! Like doom 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 doom. Hit it!
I censored myself.
Oh no, I like that.
I don't use nigga for one. I try not to when it comes to black people.
No, look, I'm not trying to get caught up in this. It confused me. I'm trying to just. I feel you. What you're saying, I respect that.
How would you feel about her then?
I feel about what?
If you had a white woman that in the midst of this passion, she's blurt out nigga.
Oh, hit it, nigga.
Yeah, yeah, right. If she just used the word.
It depends.
It depends on how the flow goes.
It depends. It depends. You drew a real vivid picture there.
Yeah,
It
right.
depends though, but
Right.
yeah, it depends. It definitely
I don't know what
depends.
it depends on.
It depends because look,
Is that how what you gonna stop in midstream and say, bitch, is that how you think of me?
Chris Lewie TV checking in.